Yo guys, what is good? Welcome back to the Uncle Sharma channel. Back again with a midweek preview. This time we got Sassuolo visiting the Stadio Giuseppe Meazza to try and stop Inter's 9 winning streak. And obviously Inter will be looking to make it a 10 win streak. Can Sassuolo, who was supposed to be, Inter's bogey team, can they stop Inter from completely running away with this title? In terms of Sassuolo, this is the reason why they're considered to be Inter's bogey team. In the last 6 meetings, Inter have only beat them twice, but Sassuolo have also beaten Inter twice and then also drew in there twice. But the trend you can see there is starting to improve from the 2018 season. Last season, obviously the last time they came to the San Siro, the 3-3 draw, that match is remembered mainly for Gagliardini's horrible, disgusting miss. We can never erase that from memory. I know I've tried many times to erase it from memory, but sometimes on social media it just pops out of nowhere. Someone would just post it and it just, that memory would just it will haunt us until the end of time for Interisti, and hopefully it haunts Gagliardini for the rest of his life. But at the start of this season, we beat them very comprehensively, 3-0 at their home. And actually, for me, that was the beginning of this season for Inter. That was the turning point. I'm going to remember that Sassuolo match for a long time, for many years. I'm going to remember it for the moment that Antonio Conte ditched the 3-4-1-2 experiment, the experiment of a high line, high pressing, kamikaze defending. We're still not quite sure why Conte was trying to do that. For his whole career, Conte has been known to be, a pragmatic, borderline, defensive manager who values, not conceding goals over scoring goals. And as I talked about a lot in my videos from earlier on the season, I was really confused with his behavior. He was talking about attacking football, how he prefers to win a match 4-3 rather than 1-0. He was talking about all these concepts like as if he was, Bielsa, Zeman, or Guardiola, like these, bringing up these kind of attacking philosophy concepts, which I've never heard Conte talk about. But we had a bad run in the Champions League. We had a bad start in the league. We conceded many goals. The defense was just leaking too many goals. We were conceding, clear-cut opportunities every match. And this seemed to be the turning point of the season where Conte said, no more, that's it. This is where we're stopping. We're going to the 3-5-2. We're going back to defensive solidity. We're dropping the defensive line, 5 or 10 meters. No more trequartista experiment, back to the, 3 midfielders. And that's not me just pulling things out of my arse or my backside. This is actually proven in the table with points. So I've put in custom dates on who scored, where you can put in, a date from and until, today's date or, the latest match. And you can see that Inter have only lost one match since that Sassuolo match, which was the Sampdoria match. And since then, they've only conceded 13 goals in 20 games, 46 goals scored, plus 33 goal difference. And they've only drawn twice, and everything else has been a win. It just shows how much of a difference that change of mentality and tweaking tactics has made. You could say, what if Conte made these changes, earlier on? What if he ditched this experiment earlier on? We could have been, way ahead in this Serie A campaign. This is like what if talk. What if he did this? What if he did that? At the end of the day, that's what Conte tried to do. I don't blame him for trying to reinvent the team. He maybe saw some improvements so he could be a bit more attacking. Obviously, he was trying to include Eriksen in his proper position, the CAM position. Didn't quite work out. He gets criticized a lot for his playing style being too defensive or counter-attacking, and then he tries to do it, but it didn't work out in the end. So and he still will be criticized. That's the life of a football coach, unfortunately. In terms of Sassuolo, I think it is a pretty good time to play them. They are not in good form. In the last 6 matches, they've drawn 3 times, lost twice, and their only win has been against Verona. But the losses against Torino and Udinese are not very good at all. And they've been really inconsistent. They had a great start to the season where they looked like they're almost challenging for the Champions League spots. The Derby ball was like in full effect. A nice passing, tiki-taka football. But since then, it happens a lot with these teams where they're pretty much they get to a point in the season where they've achieved their objective already. They're already, in the top 7, top 8, top half of the table. That's pretty much what Sassuolo set out to do. And then, it's hard to keep motivating the players to, go for the highest spots in the league. And you don't really have the quality in depth to try challenge for those spots. And that's where Sassuolo are right now. But those kind of teams are also play, with less stress, less worry when they're playing. So they play, you don't know. Sometimes you can just catch them on a good day where they're just playing their football at its peak. And in terms of their style of play, we know what they're all about: possession football, and that's proven by the stats once again. Sassuolo have the highest average possession in the whole of Serie A, with 57.2%, higher than Juventus, Napoli, Atalanta, and Inter. So, they're a team that likes to keep the ball, even if it is sometimes a lot of empty possession, but they do like to keep the ball. They do play some nice football, and they have the second highest pass accuracy just after Juventus. So, they're a good football team. Most importantly, they have their 2 main players out, and we know who they are. Domenico Berardi, that guy has been, a spine in the back for Inter for many years. He always turns up against us, Inter fan when he was growing up, and those types of players always seem to really turn up against Inter. So he's going to be a massive miss for them. Their top scorer, their leader of the team, footballing wise, and also their leader up front, Ciccio Caputo, who's their top assister this season. He's had a few injuries this season, so he hasn't been able to score as many goals as he did last season, but still, he's a key player, and those 2 are out with an injury. Locatelli is also out, so those are the 3 main players for them. And also their starting centre-back, Gianmarco Ferrari, who's the leader at the back, is missing. The right-back, Muldur, is also missing. And on these 2, and Locatelli, I believe De Zerbi explained, they're not actually injured. They've actually made a decision to keep them out due to the COVID outbreak in the Italy international camp that happened, over the last week or so when the internationals came back, likes of Verratti, Bonucci, and other Italy players. It seems like there was a bit of an outbreak after the internationals came back. So they've made quite a, decision based on, safety. So they don't want an outbreak, even though those guys haven't even tested positive or negative to the test. They've just made a safety first decision, which is commendable, but also proves that I'm not sure they would have been making that decision if they were fighting for something, if they were battling relegation or they were trying to fight for the top 6 or something. But nonetheless, it's a pretty commendable decision made by Sassuolo to put safety of the players. Without those players, there's still an interesting lineup. The likes of Juricic, who's had a pretty much a breakout season this year. He's always been touted to be a talent, but this year it seems like he's really stepped up. Boga is the one that I've always really liked, especially last season. He had his breakout season last year. The amount of dribbles this guy completed last year, I think only Lionel Messi completed more dribbles than him in the whole top 5 leagues. But this year he's had a big drop off. He's not really took the next step that he was supposed to take. But 1v1, he's always really, really dangerous. And Raspadori scored in his last match. He's a youth product from the Sassuolo system, was also an Inter fan when he was growing up. He was speaking about it last week because he was given the captaincy by the Derby. It was a big decision to give, a youngster like him, when there's older players in that team, to give him the captaincy, the captain's armband. And, I would watch out for Raspadori. He's an interesting talent. But elsewhere, Consigli, this guy always turns into like a prime Manuel Neuer against us. But elsewhere, they're a very beatable team for sure, especially without Locatelli controlling the play in midfield. Moving on for Inter, as you know, Brozovic and Bastoni got the yellow cards finally last week. It had to happen at some point, guys. We've been putting it off for weeks and weeks. I think it's been months actually, and I've been surprised, especially for Brozovic, because that guy has very little discipline. He's been able to hold off for that long to get his yellow card, but it had to happen at some point. I'm quite happy when these things happen, where you get to test out and play some players that sometimes don't get as much minutes. According to Sport Mediaset's predicted lineup, the replacement for Brozovic will be Eriksson in the regista position, which he's played a couple of times now in the season. He played against Benevento in the league, he played against Fiorentina in the Coppa Italia, and he kind of plays this kind of hybrid, almost double regista role at times now with Brozovic, even though when he plays at left centre mid, he drops deep. So I'm pretty confident in Eriksen being able to handle that role perfectly well. I've also seen some other predicted lineups that put Barella in the defensive mid position, which is the role that Barella played in the 3-0 game earlier on the season. In the midfield, he played as the defensive midfielder with Vidal and Gagliardini as the mezzale, and it was a pretty good performance by Barella. He did pretty well in that role, so I'm happy with either Barella or Eriksen in that role. And then Sport Mediaset and a few other outlets have predicted to have Stefano Sensi starting in the midfield. It says in the right centre mid role, but I'm guessing if Barella's playing as a mezzale, he might as well play on the right hand side, so it will be Sensi in the left centre mid position. And really, this midfield was something similar to this midfield was supposed to happen in the Coppa Italia against Fiorentina until Stefano Sensi got injured in the warm-up or something. So this really could be the shortest and most technical midfield Inter have put out this whole season or the last few years. We've been crying out to see that midfield from last season, the Brozovic, Barella and Sensi midfield that worked really well at the start of last season, but we just haven't got to see it. But this could be very close to that in terms of technicality, ability on the ball. I'm looking forward to watching this if it happens. As we know, Gagliardini, I always struggle to see Conte not starting Gagliardini. We saw even in the last match against Bologna, he was the substitute, even though I thought Sensi getting some minutes to the Italy national team would mean that maybe Sensi can start getting some minutes, but Gagliardini was the chosen one. But Conte said some nice words about Sensi when he came back from international duty, so I wouldn't rule it out completely, but I'm still not sure that Gagliardini probably still owns that centre mid spot when one of the midfielders are missing. Vidal is still recovering from his injury, even though he will be part of the squad. He should be okay to get some minutes at the end. Vecino should be okay now to start, but it's just difficult now in midfield. The hierarchy, as I said, is pretty much decided, so we'll see. But I'm expecting for him to get some minutes at the end as well, depending on the scoreline. Ashley Young will continue at left wing back, much to my annoyance, but Perisic is still struggling with a little injury, so that's fine. Hakimi still on the right. Little point about Hakimi, I remember in the last Sassuolo match, Darmian started in a right wing back position. Hakimi was a little bit struggling for form at the start of the season, and it was a good decision for Conte. Darmian played well in that role against Sassuolo. Boga on that right hand side was a big worry, and Skriniar and Darmian managed him very well. And sometimes you need a little spell outside the team. Even now Hakimi looks to be struggling for form a little bit, but we don't really have much choice at the moment, so Hakimi has to start, and I'm happy for him to start and see how he does with the likes of Juricic, Bogas drifting down his right hand side. The back is where it will be interesting to see what Conte will do. Bastoni is, out of him and Brozovic, Bastoni is definitely the bigger miss because we don't have as many alternatives in defense. Kolarov would have been the natural left-footed alternative in that position. But luckily or unluckily, whichever way you think, he's not quite well. Conte said he's got some back pain, but he's 35, 36 years old, so we're not surprised he's getting those old man back pains, even though I'm starting to get those. But according to Sport Mediaset, Matteo Darmian is touted to start at the left centre-back position, which is something that actually someone mentioned on the post-match live reaction live stream we did to react to the Bologna win. So shouts out to whoever that was. Sorry, I can't remember your name, but someone mentioned that, and that was a good point, because I remember when Darmian was signed, that's why I thought that he would be kind of a little bit like a D'Ambrosio, where he would be rotating with the centre backs, which we haven't got to see yet. But he's definitely, he's a defensive fullback / wing back, so he's definitely got more defensive skills. So I can definitely see him pull that off, and he's done that role for Parma and for Man United, I believe, under Mourinho. So I'm pretty sure he'll be okay in that role. And honestly, I'd probably rather see him than Kolarov in that role. And that means that Skriniar and De Vrij retain their spots. There was rumours that Skriniar could move out to the left centre back position, but we've seen from last season that it's probably not the ideal. But again, you probably rather have Skriniar playing there slightly out comfort than, Darmian or even worse, Kolarov. De Vrij, if he has recovered, he will start. Ranocchia did well as usual against Bologna, but if De Vrij is fit, De Vrij will play. So I'm interested to see how that defensive lineup does. Up front, Alexis Sanchez, the way he came on against Bologna, you could just see this guy is just raring to go, even though Lautaro put in such a good shift. He did work his ass off, so he probably deserves a little bit of a rest, even though he didn't play in the internationals. But Sanchez deserves his chance, man. That's the thing with Sanchez and Lautaro. Lautaro is definitely the starter, but Sanchez is always just there right behind him. And, Sanchez, Lukaku up front, that will be an interesting combination. And Sanchez had a good game against Sassuolo last time around. That was probably his best game this season, or definitely one of the best games he had this season. Scored a goal, linked up well with Lautaro, so hopefully he can link up well with Lukaku. Yeah, those were my thoughts on the Inter Sassuolo match. In terms of match prediction, I'm going to go for another win. I think we're going to make it 10 wins in a row. If it was Sassuolo with the full lineup with, Berardi, Caputo and Locatelli in there, I might have even gone for a draw, because at some point this streak has to end. You can't just keep winning until the end of the season. At some point, the players will have to get a little bit lethargic or, drop the ball a little bit, get a draw. But due to their, all their misses, even though we're missing Brozovic and Bastoni, I think we will get the result. And I'm going for a 3-1 victory. Sassuolo are a team that concedes goals, concedes chances. They will be a bit more open to play against. They will, they won't be as closed as Bologna were in the last match. They won't be as, combative. So I think Inter can definitely outplay them, especially with that midfield. I've been saying in the last few matches, I'm happy with Inter, conceding possession and, letting other teams have possession. But I want to see, Barella, Sensi, Eriksen midfield. That midfield needs to dominate possession. I want to see us keep the ball. So I'm going for a 3-1 victory for Inter. You guys let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And now we move on and finish off with some Inter related news, just to keep you guys up to date with everything that's going on in the world of Inter. We'll start off with the official, well, pretty much official but unofficial release of the fourth kit. That's been another pretty badly kept secret. It was actually, there was a in the official Nike store, there was already like a listing for it, but it's been taken down now. But here we see on Rupert Graphics Twitter account the screenshots taken from the official Nike photo shoot. This is from the Nike website, little kid wearing it, and honestly, I'm not a fan. I can see they're trying to go for this mashup kind of vibe, what we did with the mashup kit a couple of years back, which was nice, the combination of different kits. But this is just too much. It just looks like a mishmash. The mashup, whoever the designer was, he was definitely mashup. He was on something strong when he was designing this. You can see the new logo in there, looks nice in gold with the Pirelli logo. This will be the last kit that we will see with the Pirelli logo, and the first kit with the new logo. It looks nice in the gold. I like the idea of trying to integrate. Inter used to have a lot of yellow kits back in the day, having a little bit of combination of that, but it just doesn't work for me. It's just too much going on. And clearly, maybe you can see with the photo shoot, they're clearly going for a little kid in terms of the target audience. Probably a Gen Z, the young millennial, or even younger than millennial audience. But I'm not a fan of it. What do you guys make of it? I think it's just too much. It looks like something I could get in when I go back to India. When I was in India last year, one of the markets as a knockoff second, as a knockoff, fake kit that you get. It just doesn't even look like it's proper official kit. But it's not supposed to be actual fourth kit. Inter have applied for it to be considered a fourth kit so they can actually use it in the match. But this will be debuted officially as a pre-match warm-up kit. So when the players are warming up, they'll be wearing it against Cagliari officially in that warm-up. But they've also applied for it to be used in the actual league games this season. So we'll see the result of that application. And the news I wanted to close things off on is related to Lautaro Martinez's new contract. My God, if this news is true, this guy has gone up in rankings in my favorite Inter players. Might have gone near the top, really, to be honest. He's already one of my favorite Inter players. But if this news is confirmed to be true, guys, even in your rankings, he has to move up in your rankings. So here we have the news from FC Inter 1908. Lautaro vede solo l'Inter, trattativa per il rinnovo in prima persona. So what they're saying here is that there's been some disagreements with his current agents, Lautaro Martinez, who are Zarate and Yake, so two guys that look after his, all of his footballing rights and all that kind of stuff, his contracts. But apparently he's splitting up with them. He's not, continuing his relationship with them. And there's rumors that he's going to do a Milan Skriniar, what Milan Skriniar did in 2018 when he, was looking to renew. The agent was kind of, pulling his fee, or was trying to, negotiate with other clubs, trying to, bargain to get him a higher wage and, stalling the deal. Skriniar was, full Alan Sugar, Donald Trump mode. It was like, you're fired. I'm negotiating my contract myself. And he did. And that's one of the main that's one of the main reasons we consider Skriniar to be future captain material. And Lautaro is said to be close to do something similar, because even though the contract is said to be pretty much already agreed, the 5 million net salary, new contract until 2024 is said to be pretty much agreed. There's a few things that apparently the agents are kind of wanting to keep the release clause or not. We don't know what the actual ins and outs are, but Lautaro's not happy with his agents, and he's looking to finalize the contract agreement with Inter himself in first person. So it's not been confirmed, this story, but if it is confirmed, the source is Il Giornale, which I'm not sure how reliable of a source it is, but big props to El Toro. But big props to El Toro if this turns out to be true. A lot of people were questioning this guy's integrity or commitment to Inter last year, especially when the Barcelona rumors were going on. You could see he was a little bit distracted, which is understandable for a 22, 23-year-old who has always said his dream club was Barcelona. But I've always said, this guy, the way he plays, how hard he works on the pitch, the way he fights, I've never doubted this guy's commitment to Inter. And 4 or 5 million net salary now, the numbers he's putting up for the last couple of seasons, he deserves that kind of salary. But yeah, guys, that was my preview for the Sassuolo match. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below about the match against Sassuolo. As I said, what did you make of Antonio Conte ditching the 3-4-1-2? Why do you think he did that? There's various theories of why Antonio Conte tried to do that type of formation. Let me know your thoughts on the new fourth kit. You've heard of my thoughts on that. Let me know your thoughts on the Lautaro Martinez rumors about negotiating his own contract. And as always, guys, make sure to leave a thumbs up and subscribe, as it supports the channel. And always, guys, always, Forza Inter. Ciao.